this thing on.
What is up, everybody? Welcome into another episode of The Cut. I am your host, Christian Williams, and I am here, as always, with Randy Hall. Randy, how are you, man?
Doing pretty good. Couple long days of work already. Let's get longer, but here we are. Unfortunately, on a Wednesday, Guardians game being postponed and then postponed even further kind of screwed up our Monday, unfortunately. But we're here now, and thankfully before a decent Thursday night game.
Debatable. I don't think it's gonna be. We'll get to talk about it, but I don't know. Well, I think there's a misconception that we're seeing bad football right now, but let's just jump right into it. You put in the show doc. This is the lowest scoring for 6 weeks of an NFL season in the last 13 years, and it's down 22% from last year. And the reason I wanted to just jump right into that is because it makes it feel like it's bad football, when in reality, it's really good football. It's just not on the side of the ball that matters for fantasy. And so I understand why a lot of football fans are pretty upset with what's been happening. But that's why we're here to talk to you guys about defenses and things that defenses are doing to counter some of the offenses of the last few years, because offense has dominated, and now we're seeing everything. It's a circle, and we're back to the top of the circle where the defenses have the advantage. So what do you think about that? Are you sad about it, or are you happy?
So we obviously watch both sides of the ball very extensively, so I appreciate what's going on, and especially in trench play, there's been a lot of really good play on both sides of the ball, and a lot of injuries on offensive lines that have really hurt a lot of places. But this is really in here, like you said, just to kind of like, I know a lot of us are pissed right now, and you feel like you busted and everything's wrong and you screwed up, and some of that, probably is true, or you made one bad pick, and maybe like Jonathan Taylor's hurting you right now or something like that, or Najee's really hurting you, but it's hurting everyone. So don't feel like out of it. Don't feel you're alone. There's still a lot of time to turn around. The other good thing here is we're a third of the way in. We got plenty of time. Plenty of time.
Yes, we do. Yeah, I think a lot of injuries to offensive lines, but just not a lot of offensive line talent across the board. I listen to a lot of different podcasts, and one of the things, especially, I listen to a lot of Bears podcasts now because I have adopted the Bears. Shout out Justin Fields. One of the things that they've highlighted is there are full sides of lines right now that are problematic. And normally in years past, like, at least you would have a guard that would anchor that side. And you can work with 4 good offensive linemen, or even 3.5. You can't work with 4 bad offensive linemen. And I feel like a lot of teams are trying to do that right now. So I think with health, I think things will turn around. I think you're right. I also think that this is going to be what it is. I think we're going to see the return of the running back here in the next few years, because teams are trying to stop explosives. They're running a lot of cover 2, and they're giving up the run because they know that that's not going to hurt them as much as the passing game. So it's a lot of fun. I love it. I like watching that. It's like a counter hit. It's a counter punch in the battle that is the life of the NFL. However long that lasts, we'll see, but probably forever. But yes, so after that spiel, we're here to talk about week 7 of the NFL. Obviously, week 6 has since passed. We don't have any waiver advice for you because waivers have passed. And hopefully you went out and got, I don't know who Tyquan Thornton was one that I was interested in a little bit.
He's okay. It wasn't like a enormous week. I feel like the week before with like Kenneth Walker and Eno Benjamin and a couple other were like big names. And I know Eno didn't have the best week. I think he could and should have a better week this week, but we'll see who really steps in there. There's just a lot, little injuries. There's a lot of weird stuff like the Cam Akers thing and
Mhm.
stuff that popped up last second. A lot of guys kind of popping up very last second, like late Friday. Unfortunately, I was at a cross country meet. Felt like my watch was going to fall off my damn wrist. But
Yeah.
it was a weird week, and then it was kind of an awkward Sunday. I mean, even the best game of the Bills Chiefs wasn't, what we kind of expected. It was more of like what their regular season was last year. So a little bit expected, unexpected there. But
Yeah.
yeah, so a very depressing Sunday for Cleveland fans just in general. So
Yeah.
that didn't
They
help.
pretty tough couple of days now that the Cavs just lost too for Cleveland fans.
I
So
was just gonna let that one go.
yeah, I know. Okay, week 7 it brings about some bye weeks that are extremely problematic for fantasy. I was looking at my lineups earlier. I am not happy about what is
you
happening.
you
So
you're understanding my issues last week.
yeah, so the Bills, the Rams, the Vikings, and the Eagles are all on bye this week. I have a ton of Josh Allen. I have a ton of Justin Jefferson because I was drafting him everywhere I could. It's not a good week for me. I'm pretty upset. But the good thing, there are a lot of what I would call decent games, good games to watch this week, and it is time to dive into them. We're going to start with the Thursday night football game, Saints versus Cardinals. You say it's a better game. I will push back on that here in a second. Um, Cardinals are 1.5 point home favorites in this game, and the over under is 45.5. So the entire wide receiver core has actually been ruled out outside of Chris Olave. So Michael Thomas, Jarvis Landry once again will be out of this game. They also lost Andrews Pete, and Jameis Winston is questionable heading into this game, though I think that's only because Andy Dalton is also hurt now. And so I think they might be kind of rushing Jameis back. There's a chance James Conner comes back in this game. Hollywood Brown is out 4 to 6 weeks, is what the report was. But Robbie Anderson obviously is going to be introduced into the offense. Last week, Alvin Kamara is getting all the big workload, but that has been without Jameis Winston. So I'd love to see if that continues.
Yeah, that's not necessarily his fault though. Like he had a decent
Right.
workload with Jameis, and then they both got hurt, and
True.
Kamara kind of has been back first.
Yeah.
The big workload's more just like okay, he's full go. So I think that's more than encouraging. No touchdowns though. I think historically he's averaged a touchdown every like 18 or 19 touches, and he's got like 80 something already. So he should have like 3 to 4 touchdowns and 0. So there's some regression coming there for sure. And I think it could come this game. We know Kamara has dominated in Thursday primetime games before, but usually on a holiday. I think he can come out and do it this week against a pretty hapless Cardinals defense.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. The other player I should have mentioned in the gonna be playing is DeAndre Hopkins, I believe, although he
Yes.
hasn't been allowed to practice throughout this time period either.
He hasn't been allowed to practice with the team.
True.
Is how you have to, yeah, because
True.
I'm sure he hasn't been sitting down.
Yeah, I doubt it. But so DeAndre Hopkins, Robbie Anderson, and Rondale Moore will be the 3 wide receiver sets. I think AJ Green's gonna stay on the field until Hollywood Brown comes back, and then he's gonna be the one relegated. Rondale Moore played on 99% of the snaps last week. His snap share has gone up just a small amount each week, but he was in the 90s the last 2 weeks, and he's scoring some fantasy points over the last couple of weeks. So I think that that's going to stay. He's definitely assumed that Christian Kirk type of role, and even Robbie Anderson's introduction shouldn't eliminate any fantasy potential for him, in my opinion.
Yeah, it shouldn't. Rondell Moore is not playing downfield.
Right.
So Robbie Anderson is just going to strictly run streaks, I think.
Yeah.
So I don't think it'll really change anything. And for Hopkins, pretty much every indication he's playing. I know it's his first game he could play, but with it being Thursday, there's still some concerns. But it does seem like he's playing. Marcus Lattimore is not playing. So he does get a better matchup coming back now, thankfully. I
Yeah.
do think he gets used heavy. It's kind of like an integration to the offense. Kind of think like every time Antonio Brown has been like firstly put in with Brady in a new spot, you get like 8, 10 targets that week. I think we're going to have that with Hopkins. Well, Rondale Moore is actually more of like the actual wide receiver one and moving the ball with him.
Yeah.
That's just because I don't think they really are going to still be able to run the ball, especially on the Saints. So I think they're going to have to do it through the air and Kyler through his legs.
Yeah. On the other side of the ball, I think getting, Chris Olave back on the field is going to be a good thing. What's that?
You know what I'm going to say. I say it every fucking week on here. Wide receiver one against the Cardinals when there's only one wide receiver that's actually a starter. I have a feeling Murphy's going to be all up on him as well as help over top. I'm not excited about Olave this week. I think he is talented enough to do it still and have an okay day. It's just
DK Metcalf couldn't last week, so
but I mean that's a different style of receiver, so it's kind of like
it is. Yeah. I'm not super intrigued or interested in any of the like secondary guys that will be out, like the Callaways, the Traquan Smiths. They've had their flashy moments, but I'm kind of good on that. I think this game is just won or lost based on how Kyler plays against that Saints defense. I think everything for the Cardinals goes with him, and so I personally. Oh wait, you have something to talk about. Your lock.
Yeah, I was going to transition earlier. I forgot. So they haven't been able to run the ball, and I don't think they do it again this week against the Saints defense, like I said before. And that was meant to transition that into my lock sit of the week and just Cardinals running backs. Mainly, I have to say it like this because I'm not sure if it's just Eno. I'm not sure if it's Eno and Connor. I'm not sure if it's Williams and Eno. But we'll see there. I just don't think they're going to be able to get it done that side. I think the Saints are going to try and make sure that doesn't happen and try and contain Kyler a bit and have the focus at the line of scrimmage, especially with Rondale working very close to the line of scrimmage as well. That allows the defense to play a little bit closer. Obviously, having Robbie Anderson going deep, but first week, is he going to be out there, full complement of snaps, doesn't know the playbook. Hopkins should be back in order, like I said, but we'll see how he plays. He's not 24 anymore. He's 29, I want to say. So you could take a full week of actual practice to be game ready. Yeah. So because of stuff like that, I just think starting a Cardinals running back against this defense is foolish. And with how badly they perform this whole season, to start off the week with that dud in your running back spot is just a no-go for me.
Yeah, I like that. I'm going to take the Saints in this game, I think, and I'm going to take the under of 45.5.
Yeah, I'm taking the under. But no, I'm going to take the Cardinals on the over because this is exactly, I set the under for the Saints Seahawks, and we saw what happened with that. I think that's more of this game script. I think this could be a game that is won by the Saints, by Taysom Hill and hopefully Alvin Kamara touchdowns. But I just have a feeling, I just have that one feeling that they did nothing this offense on last week. They scored 3 points on offense last week. 3. Yeah. I think they're going to come out swinging, trying to do a big change here. There's been talk about changing play calling and everything, even though we just signed extensions for everyone here.
It's rough.
It's a little egregious by that staff. So I and I think Ertz can have a really big day. And I think that's really going to set apart this team. And I hope Rondale has a good day and gets in the end zone and Hopkins gets one. And we'll see. I'm just going to give him that little edge, that 1.5 point edge.
Yeah, I'm into it. All right, let's move on to the next one. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are 10-point favorites heading to Carolina to play PJ Walker and the Panthers. The over-under in this game is 41. And while that may seem low for a Bucs team or a Bucs game, if you consider what happened last week against a good Steelers defense, I think it's worth maybe considering the under here. Last week, Tom Brady, 25 of 40, 243 yards and a touchdown. Tom Brady has had a rough start to his year. He had a couple of good games mixed in there, but the first 2 weeks and then this last week 6 was rough. Cameron Brate was carted off. It looks like Cade Otton is going to continue, expanding his role within the offense. But this offense is not gelling right now. Even Leonard Fournette is kind of carrying, and that's mainly through the air. He's doing fine on the ground. He's inefficient Lenny like he always has been. But really the only receiver that's playing up to standard is Chris Godwin here. Other side of the ball, no more Robbie Anderson. Maybe we see Terrace Marshall. Maybe we see Shi Smith. I don't know. I don't know what that offense is. Christian McCaffrey is going to do his thing. I wanted to ask, because I'm about to transition over to it really quickly. How are you handling DJ Moore moving forward, even after the PJ Walker stints?
With a lot of hope.
Okay.
That he's traded. This is a dumpster fire. This is an XFL team. At a certain point here, this is really bad. Obviously, you have one of the best running backs in football. You have decent tackle play. I think DJ Moore is, obviously a top, 20 receiver in the league without question, if not, much nicer on that ranking. It's just this team can't move the ball, and you have Jeremy Chen injured on the other side of the ball, who's really a staple of that defense. I just don't think they're able to do anything. I think this is a guaranteed lock, basically, for the number 1 pick, and we'll see what they do with it. We'll see what they do with it. Yeah, it's a whole dumpster fire, and obviously with like Sam Darnold doesn't need to return now, and Baker should be back by then too, and we're gonna have a 3-way QB competition that nobody cares about. And to me, if the Panthers are talking about selling off possibly CMC, and if there's talk of Brian Burns, but I just doubt it. To me, yeah. I think you sell off DJ Moore here, and I think you can get a lot for him, more than I think you can get at least with the Ravens just got for Hollywood Brown, and to me, I think it's worth it for this Panthers team that is just complete dumpster fire, and you're going to need to reinvent this whole wheel. So that's my whole thing with DJ Moore. Right? Could he do something? Maybe, but this Bucs defense is good as well. I just don't trust it.
Yeah, he's my lock sit this week. That's why I asked you. I don't have interest in starting DJ Moore. I have DJ Moore shares in a few leagues, and I'll start Jacoby Myers over him. I would take flyers on, I mentioned Tyquan Thornton. I think Tyquan Thornton is a better play than DJ Moore right now, which is the most insane thing.
I don't know about that necessarily. I don't see them passing a lot. I think Rondo Moore, I'm starting way over him. I'm playing Hopkins over him.
Yep.
We already talked about even if he plays half the snaps, I want Hopkins more. I'm playing Olave over DJ Moore, and we just talked about how bad that matchup is. This is I don't want it.
I'm legitimately playing AJ Dillon over him, and he has been disappointing as well. He's less disappointing.
The chances he just hasn't done anything. And in fairness, this Packers offense hasn't done anything, but we'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, I'm taking I think this is one of those games where if Brady can pour on points, he will.
Yeah.
I just don't know if he can. This offensive line it was hampered from the get-go, and it's gotten worse and more injured. It's really been a struggle because obviously Brady can't move away from anything at this point. Not that he really ever could.
Right.
So that's why the dump downs are heavy and efficient, and he's hitting his favorite guy and Godwin more, and he's looking at the tight end position more because that's where he's always been safest because the Patriots rarely ever had good receivers. So it's going to be a pass-heavy attack. The Panthers can stop the run on occasion at times, so Fournette's not going to do much on the ground, but he's probably getting 5 or 6 catches. I do think the Bucs win pretty handily here. I'm going to go. I'm going to give them the 10 points, but I'm going to go the under. I think it'll be like 27-10 or 27-7, something like that.
Yeah, I'm taking the Bucs 35-3, so under.
Just under.
Just under 38.
Yeah, I don't think the Panthers could score more than 10 points ever, and they got a defensive touchdown last week to get to the 10.
Which is, I think, how they will score this week as well. If they do score, but I just think they're getting a field goal. All right, I don't want to talk about that game anymore. Let's move on to another game that does not excite me a whole lot. The Indianapolis Colts heading to Tennessee to face off against the Titans. The Titans are 2.5-point home favorites, and the over-under in this game is 42.5. Jonathan Taylor returned to practice. Nyheim Hines returned to practice. I think they look good heading into this week. I just want a quick note on Deion Jackson. I think if you have him in Dynasty, if you don't sell him before this weekend, he's going. I mean, I understand that he's a high value if Jonathan Taylor does go out because he showed that he could be the one. But you've got to get rid of that asset. That's a really good asset at its peak value. Go sell him before this game starts. Matt Ryan went berserk last week. He threw almost 60 times, 389 yards, and 3 touchdowns. It was just kind of nuts.
Dude, I'm sitting there watching games with Sweet and just absolutely furious that this guy, when he throws 20 times, throws 3 picks, throws 60 times, and throws no picks. Of course, I have that over for half a pick that week. It was the most infuriating thing to see a stat line of 58 passing and no picks from Matt Ryan this year.
I know.
Oh,
it's crazy. I do want to mention he will not do this a whole lot.
No, and that was against a defense that he threw like 3 picks the first time they played. Yeah. What the shit?
Yeah, it's crazy. Michael Pittman had a big day. Alec Pierce, I said don't follow the points, and that was wrong. He scored a touchdown, so shout out Alec Pierce for proving me wrong last week. Paris Campbell got involved. I believe he had 11 targets in this game. I don't know how sticky it is because Matt Ryan's not throwing 58 times a game, and Paris Campbell's high was 4 before this game. So, other side of the ball, the Titans are coming off their bye week. So we'll see what the offense looks like. It's going to be the Derrick Henry show still, though, I think. So
Derrick Henry, Robert Woods, Austin Hooper. I'm hoping coming off the bye, there's a bit more involvement from Kyle Phillips. I think he can really help move the ball with this team. But other than that, we know what Titans are. It's definitely snowing by now, and what is it? I don't remember where the place is anymore. But every time it's the first snowfall of the year. Oh, and I think it's like Maine or something, and Derrick Henry's going to go off. And it snowed here this week. I know it snowed in Ohio this week. I'm assuming Derrick Henry is going to annihilate this Colts defense, who is without a lot of big names. I know they are decent against the run still, especially with that D-line, but still, I think he could have a big day.
Oh, yeah, I think so. I'm hoping for some more Chig Okonkwo involvement as well. I think that would be fun. And Trailenberg's still on the IR, so I don't think he'll be playing, right? So
no.
Because that was only a couple weeks ago. Time is crazy right now, so I lose track of how long players have been on the IR because so many are on it. Who are you taking in this game, man?
I'm going to take the Titans coming out the bye. I think they had a game plan coming into this week. And that Sunday, I think it may have slightly adjusted the game plan. But knowing that they're going to go back to true form, the Colts, and that's with Jonathan Taylor and Hines back, they are going to run more than I think like the 20 times they did this last week. I think the game plan should work, and it does seem like the Titans defense, especially the pass rush, is coming back a little bit healthier, which was a huge thing going into the bye where, they were desperate to have anyone out there. I think that can really help out Jeffrey Simmons and get pressure and really shut down a little bit of this rushing attack, which will force Ryan to play a little bit harder. And am I excited on the Titan secondary trying to pick them off? Not really, but we'll see.
Yeah. I will also take the Titans to win by at least a field goal, and I will take the under in this game as well. Because taking the under has, it's worked out a lot this year. I felt like I was taking a lot of unders last week, and then I looked at the scores. I was like, oh, yeah, I did it.
I picked every over I picked in Thrive was wrong. And the one under that I was not confident in that I picked was wrong as well. That was the McCaffrey line of like 99 like total yards, which he had almost at halftime. So I think we're gonna have definitely another under week from a lot of things.
For sure. Next game, Atlanta Falcons facing off against the Bengals. The Bengals are 6-point favorites in this game, and the over-under is 45.5. The Falcons are coming off what I would argue is their best game of the year. They pretty much dominated the 49ers start to finish. They controlled the game. Marcus Mariota, I believe, at one point was 11 of 11. I don't remember when his first incompletion was, but he was very efficient. He threw 14 times, 129 yards, 2 touchdowns, added 50 yards and a touchdown on the ground. Caleb Huntley and Tyler Algier ran the ball very effectively. They were, it's very much so a committee backfield, and they showed that, but they were effective with it. And then on the other side, the Bengals have really they've continued their offensive struggles. Burrow went 28 of 37 for 303. So stat wise, it doesn't look like it, but the Bengals are not firing the way that they fired last year. Joe Mixon's kind of salvaging things. He's finally, getting in the end zone a little bit. I think that tide will turn here soon, and he's going to explode for massive, massive weeks. And Jamar Chase is kind of back to normal, 7 catches, 132 yards, and 2 touchdowns. T. Higgins also 6 catches, 47 yards. What do you think about this game? Because I think this is a sneaky – Falcons are at least covering that just with how they've played. Arthur Smith has them playing really well right now.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the cover, but I'm pretty positive on the over.
Yeah.
Because I think both teams are scoring over 20 at this point. And this Bengals, I mean, obviously they need offensive line play to improve, and they need a little bit better matchups for Mixon. And, the Falcons pretty much shut down the 49ers running attack last week. So I'm not so sure on the matchup this week. We'll see how it goes with this team. But really, they need Higgins to get fully healthy, and I think this offense can really explode again. I think how heavily these teams are just bracketing Jamar Chase at this point and stopping him from getting deep at all costs because Higgins really hasn't been healthy all year. I think it's really slowed down the production and the capabilities of this offense. So until he's fully healthy, which I think going into this week he was getting there. Obviously, he went out early the week before with his ankle. So if he's fully healthy this week, I expect a big day from the Bengals offense with the Falcons stinking and dunking and getting back in there.
Yeah, I'd like to see another Kyle Pitts touchdown. That's what I desperately would like to see in this game.
I think he played on like 16 snaps or something ridiculous too.
Yeah.
Like he had his best fantasy outlet and he had his worst amount of snaps. I don't understand what he's doing. He's trying to win games and keep his job. I get that, Arthur Smith, but like you're not using your best player.
Yeah.
And you're not throwing the ball because your quarterback can't throw the ball.
Exactly.
So the fact that you're not just making the switch at this point is atrocious.
That's where I need to see Ritter here soon. I know the Falcons are winning, so we're not going to, which is problematic in my opinion, because I think that they need to. They're going to win too many games to go get a franchise guy, though. I think that sucks. So, although I think Ritter could be that. We don't know. I'm taking the Falcons to cover, and I agree with you. I think we're hitting the over in this game.
I'll take Bengals and the points. I think they win by 7.
Cool. Next one, New York Giants against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jaguars are 2.5-point favorites, and the over-under is 42.5. This is a sneaky good game. I don't know who it's sneaking up on. The Giants have been just crazy in how they're winning games. Yeah. And the Jaguars, obviously, a little bit of a clunker last week, but they have looked good throughout the season. You're going to have that. Trevor Lawrence needs to have a bounce back day. The Giants beat the Ravens somehow. They just keep beating really, really good football teams in various ways. Brian Daboll is a magician. Daniel Jones isn't doing anything. The craziest part of the Giants' success, they're not scoring a lot of points. Their defense is playing very well. Daboll's an offensive coach, and really the offense is revolving around Saquon Barkley almost exclusively. 22 carries, 83 yards, and a touchdown, 3 catches for 12 yards. But that was by far the high man on the Giants pass catching offense, not pass catching offense, but skill position offense. Wan'Dale Robinson and Daniel Bellinger both got touchdowns, so shout out rookies. I'm excited to see them more involved. Bellinger has kind of had a couple of those days. And then on the other side, it looks like the Travis Etienne usurpment, that's not a word, of James Robinson has kind of happened. They're using Etienne ways that allow them to take advantage of his speed. So I think that that's kind of a thing, but I do think James Robinson's still involved. Trevor Lawrence, 20 of 22, 163 yards and a touchdown. So this was very much so a game plan of Trevor Lawrence isn't going to lose this game for us. And it worked for the most part. They scored points, they scored touchdowns. It's just their defense couldn't stop anyone. So what do you think of this game, man?
I don't know what to think. Like, I feel like I have to pick the Giants and the under, but these teams are very confusing because
Yeah.
it seems like neither team is playing well yet also playing well at the same time, and I really don't know what to do with that information because I've watched parts of these games and I just don't understand it because it's literally it's not even like they're getting just perfect field position or like it's just weird how the games are playing out and then they're just almost falling in the end zone. Both these teams at different times. I mean, even Wan'Dale Robinson's touchdown, he was wide open and he almost dropped the ball twice before he got in the end zone. Like I don't understand what's happening with these teams. And at a certain point, their quarterbacks are basically dinking and dunking and running in and not losing the game for them. And the defenses are carrying enough to keep them in games and literally limp into the end zone for a win. And I think we're going to have the same thing. And I think you have to take the Giants at this point until they kind of prove us wrong. And the under.
Yeah. The old Wan'Dale special of not having good hands. I was lower on Wan'Dale. I'm excited to see how they involve him because I think that they need some type of dynamic.
He's their best receiver right now.
Yeah, by a lot too. I mean, it's pretty crazy what that. Darius Slayton's there too. I think he's fine in his role, but he's not better than Wan'Dale. So, yeah, man, I think I'm taking the Giants just because I've picked against them, I think 2 weeks in a row now, and I was wrong 2 weeks in a row, which means this is going to be the clunker that the Jaguars win, but I'll take the Giants, and I will also take the under. This feels like a big Saquon Barkley week, though, like another big Saquon Barkley week, I guess.
We'll see.
Yeah. Okay, next one. Detroit Lions against the Dallas Cowboys. Cowboys are 7-point favorites in this game. Over-under is 47.5. The Lions are coming off the bye week. It looks like DeAndre Swift is hopeful that he will play. It seems like they're hopeful that he'll play. Jameson Williams, I believe, is eligible to come off IR, but is not going to play this week. It seems like they're going to ramp him up pretty extensively.
Man, that was one of the most depressing alerts of the day, was just getting from their coach, just Jameson Williams will play this year. It's like, that's not what I wanted you to say.
Right.
Just say that he's looking good on his recovery. Like, what? He will play this year. Does that mean week 17? What is that? That doesn't give you confidence it's soon.
Yeah. I feel like it's going to be like week 12, week 13. And I feel like at some point we heard the report that he was ahead of schedule. He looked like he was ahead of schedule in some of the videos that we saw. I feel like it's coming, but they're going to be cautious because that's your franchise. I mean, that he is a talented wide receiver. I know they've got Amon-Ra. I know they've got Swift. I know they've got Hockenson. They have a lot of good dudes, but there's no reason to risk it,
No, and Reynolds and Chark are picking up the slack as it is, so there really isn't a need to rush him back. I think we got into the point with him where he's doing everything. He's just still working through the cuts with the injury, and cuts are an enormous part of his game. So I think we're gonna take a while. I mean, we saw just this last week with J.K. Dobbins early on, his knee tightened up, and he was done for the day because the Ravens were like, "Nope, no, you sit over there with ice. I'm done with you. You're not hurting that knee again." So I think it's a safe approach and a smart approach by the Lions. It's just not the most favorable alert to get during the day.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Cowboys, on the other hand, looks like they're going to get Dak Prescott back this week. He's expected to practice tomorrow in full, and he has been completely cleared. And so the Cooper Rush experiment is over. Finally, I'm so glad because the whole rhetoric that he should play over Dak went in the toilet against the Eagles last week, and I'm glad for that. I think this is going to help everyone. Obviously, we know what Dak is compared to Cooper Rush, but And this Lions defense is it's a Swiss cheese defense, but the Lions can put up points as well. So I'm interested to see what this Lions team looks like out of the bye.
Yeah, same. I'm not I'm not loving like Goff as a streaming option this week. Obviously, he put up a pretty big dud against the Patriots, and this Cowboys defense is just about the same talent or more talented at different times. And this Cowboys offensive line isn't the greatest, so I think Micah Parsons gonna have a field day as well as Lawrence and everyone else. So I'm curious that way and concerned. I think Swift can have a good day. I think Amon Ra is gonna destroy. And obviously, we know Diggs isn't going to shadow him because Alvin Ron moves all over the field and plays in the slot. So he's going to have a great day. And honestly, like Zeke should have a phenomenal day. It's a phenomenal matchup against this Lions defense. And I think he can be a little bit more efficient on his huge volume of touches now with a good quarterback and less stacked boxes. I'm excited for basically this whole game, and I think it hits the over. And I'll pick the Cowboys, but not the points. I'll take the cover.
Yeah, I'll take the Cowboys. I think they pull away late in this game, and I'm for sure hitting the over in this game. I just think that I do think the Lions will, keep up at least. So,
Yeah.
okay. Next one, Green Bay Packers, 5-point favorites going to Washington to play the Commanders. That's just a disgusting line for the Packers. When you looked at this team preseason, and the over-under here is 41 flat. Injuries of note, Randall Cobb. His ankle is not broken. It looks like I believe 4 weeks is what they were hoping for. And then Carson Wentz is out 4 to 6 weeks with a broken hand. I think there are a couple bones broken in his hand. Taylor Heineke's getting the start over Sam Howell. We kind of knew that was going to happen. I think there's a chance that maybe Howell usurps him in the next couple of weeks just because they know what Heinicke is. Talk about the Packers, Randy. I know you really want to.
I know you really want to. It's such a bait thing. So they look really bad. So obviously I'm in Wisconsin, and I was watching the Browns game and the Packers game this last week, and it was two of the worst games I've seen in a long time. So it's definitely not a fun weekend. But this Packers team is just really bad. They can't get anything going through the air. This running attack, even with a two-headed great monster, can't get the ball moving. They're a run funnel defense right now. Everyone can run on them. And the secondary and the pass rush has been pretty good, but I think this is a game the Packers should easily win, and I think they do struggle. And that's the most depressing thing. They faced some decent defenses and some terrible offenses the last few weeks, and have come out on the wrong side of it. And this is obviously kind of a bad on both sides of the ball for the Commanders right now. But if they don't dominate this game by a ton, I think we understand what this Packers team is, and they're completely toast. And this is the Vikings division to lose. Plain and simple. It's really terrible. I mean, Tonyan was the best receiver this last week, and he almost gave up almost pick six this last week because of him dropping a ball. Like this is bad.
Tonyan was the first tight end to catch 10 passes from Aaron Rodgers in his entire career, which sounds crazy. But also, I feel like he hasn't had elite tight ends to throw to ever. Okay. Are you interested in any Antonio Gibson? I know we sat him last week.
No, I don't want him at all. I know it seemed like Rivera wanted to get him a little bit more involved. I think that's more in the passing game to get McKissick less involved, in my opinion. My lock start of the week is actually Brian Robinson. And there's key parts of this. Like I said, the Packers are a very big run funnel defense. And I think Robinson gets anywhere from 15 to 20 carries this game. And I think he can get a touchdown this game. And I think you trade the holy fuck out of him. Do not keep him. I trade him before this week if you can, and definitely trade him after this week. Because this is a bad team. They chose, I think, in both of our opinion, the wrong quarterback here to play in the absence of Wentz. And I think we're going to see a pretty big downturn. I don't think they're going to be close enough at games to run the ball past this week. So, in my opinion, I think Robinson going to have a good week, and that I don't want him on my team again. I don't want any Commanders running backs on my team.
I think that's fair. I do feel as though with Heineke starting, I feel like I'm taking the Packers and the points here, but I feel like the under is a pretty good bet here as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay. Did you say your pick?
I'm going to pick the Packers to limp their way through the game
Okay.
and win
Yeah.
by 6 or 7. I'll take the points, everything, but under.
Okay. Okay. Sounds good. All right. Next one, Cleveland Browns against the Baltimore Ravens. The over under is 47. The Browns are in shambles right now. Jacoby Brissett looked terrible last week. They decided not to run the football. I just traded for Nick Chubb today. So I'm kind of hoping that changes this week because I kind of need a big week from running backs. It's in a dynasty league as well. Amari Cooper did his thing where he drops the football that Dallas Cowboys fans are so acquainted with. Donovan Peoples-Jones had a decent day. On the other side of the ball, the Ravens are struggling too. They've added a couple of pieces here, but Mark Andrews is really the only one getting going. I don't know about Rashad Bateman's availability here. I think he'll be back. I think he was close to being back last week, and so I think they need him, and they need some speed on the offense. They have struggled. Kenyon Drake last week, 10 carries, 119 yards, and a touchdown. He was a popular waiver wire pickup as well. I'm not incredibly interested in that. And I actually left him on waivers in a couple different places. I put my need more info is Donovan Peoples-Jones. He's strung together a nice 3 weeks where he's a top 36 receiver, I believe, over that span. I think he is wide receiver 36 or close to it, depending on your scoring system. How are you feeling about this game? You think this is a Baltimore get right game? You think it's a Cleveland get right game, or neither?
Yeah, I think it's a Baltimore get right game.
Yeah,
The worst thing for them is with Dobbins kind of up in the air and Drake not really being talented, even if though he had a pretty decent game this last week. Like they really need to be able to run the ball to beat this Browns team, and I think their best running back is Lamar right now, and that's not even like the whole Lamar adage. I just don't think they have the health there that they need to really dominate this Browns team, and I think that'll keep the Browns in the running. I think it's been clear that if you can run on the Ravens this year, it's been a huge help as well. So I think this is a good sign for the Browns if they actually decide, to use your best fucking player run the ball this week. So I do think this could be a really good game. I think Andrews has a phenomenal game because obviously the Browns can't guard a tight end to save their life, and we'll see who really steps up on the Brown side besides Chubb. But I do think the Ravens win, and I think this is an over.
yeah, yeah. I feel like this is an over. I think the Ravens win this game. Do we know what the line is? Is this just
I
are the
probably still
Ravens?
wouldn't do it.
I think the Ravens. The last I thought they were 2-point favorites. If I recall correctly. But I'll take the Ravens to win, and no matter how close the spread is, if it's like 7 points, I guess I'll take the Browns to cover. Divisional games are always pretty tight for the most part. But yeah, I'll take the over. I do think this is a get right game for Lamar, especially. Okay. Anything else on that?
Huh?
Afternoon slate: New York Jets versus the Denver Broncos. Broncos are 2.5-point favorites in this game. That's crazy. Over under in this game is 43 points. Injuries. There's some rumblings that Russell Wilson's hurt, and I don't know if we're gonna get a late.
Yeah, he's got like 2 injuries.
Correct. I don't think they're truly injured. I think he wants an out right now because he's playing so bad. That's my conspiracy theory right now. He's terrible. Jets, on the other hand, are winning despite Zach Wilson. They've gotten really creative with their rushing attack. They've gotten really creative with their personnel packages. Elijah Moore is not being used at all. He got 0 targets this last week. Garrett Wilson's really not doing a whole lot. Corey Davis isn't doing a whole lot. It's been pretty much the Breece Hall show. The Broncos, on the other hand, are doing nothing all over the place. Greg Dulcich had a good debut game last week. But I'll tell you what, I'm just tired of watching the Broncos, so I can guarantee I won't watch this game live. I'll just catch it later.
There'll be a couple scores at red zone I see, but that's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not watching them. And I know, like, I'll be. It's an afternoon game though.
Yeah. The
We'll
matchup I'm
see you
excited
sleep.
to see is gonna be Sauce Gardner versus Cortland Sutton. I think that is gonna be a
Yeah,
fun matchup to watch. So,
and I think again, for them to win, Jerry Judy has to be the focal point, and they're just not doing it, even though they should. And he's doing fine when he has the ball. It's just
yeah. Yeah, I saw some stats today. He's struggling to win against man coverage, but I don't. That's strange to me. He's such a good route runner. So that to me is what routes are you having him run? I haven't watched any all 22, so I don't want to
yeah,
speak out of turn, but
and we know like Melvin Gordon basically getting benched randomly, and them not still being good running the ball without him, and
yeah,
I I don't
just
understand what's happening with this team.
I think
I'm just
Hackett
out.
should be fired already. I know
Yeah,
that sounds crazy,
he's
but
getting fired
yeah,
because this management group did everything to get Russell, and they still, I'm sure, believe in Russell Wilson and think he can really turn this around. And I think a lot, honestly, like I think he's playing bad, and I think it's just terrible play calling as well. So it's just not going well, and um, I think they hired Hackett to try and get Rodgers, and it didn't work. And they're trying to make it work with Wilson, and it's not going to. So I think they're gonna there's gonna be a major change this offseason with the Broncos. I think financially it will be Hackett.
yeah, I think you're right. All right, I'm taking the Jets to win this game, and I'm taking the under.
Say
Yeah,
definitely under. Fuck these teams. Even though the Broncos did play a little bit better this last week, um, I will say though they've been okay against the run. Baron Browning and Bradley Chubb look great.
yeah,
It looks phenomenal pairing out there right now. So if they can slow down the run at all and make Wilson throw, they should have a field day. Obviously, Brees Hall outran Zach Wilson passing this last week.
yeah, yeah.
That should not happen.
It's
And
tough.
if it does happen, he should have like 200 yards.
Yep. Yeah, and even then, like you would want your quarterback to have 200 yards, right? I think that's
Yeah.
a pretty common want. Yeah, Jets and under for me. Next game, Kansas City Chiefs, 3-point favorites heading to San Francisco to face off against the Jimmy Garoppolo led 49ers, and the over under in this game is 46. No major injuries of note, I don't believe. Other than all of the ones that the 49ers had before last week. Brandon Ayuk had a bit of a breakout day, 8 catches on 11 targets, 83 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Over the last couple of weeks, he has actually performed like a top 12 receiver, while Deebo Samuel is still getting his. It looks more like the 1A, 1B that we may have expected last year. I didn't expect it last year, but I think that is coming to fruition now because Ayuk looks like a breakout star at this point.
And Kittle has been the last 2 weeks consistent with getting a good amount of workload as well. So I think this is how the passing offense should look. It shouldn't be ultra focused. It should be the three getting the same amount of work basically and moving the ball. Just it didn't work out this week, and they couldn't run the ball against the Falcons for some reason. And it really seemed to completely shoot them, and they couldn't do anything. So I mean, we know the game plan for the 49ers this week. They have to run the ball and control the clock. And with what the Raiders did 2 weeks ago on Monday night, that has to be the entire game plan going into this and having Jeff Wilson be a god and try to play as well as Josh Jacobs did that week. And help, well, obviously with some help, obviously, but I said obviously way too many times. That started to lose meaning. So sorry, references. So I don't think Jimmy G can win this game. So I think they have to run and control this game. But I do think the Chiefs pull it out. And I'll take the over because I'm picking the Chiefs. If I'm picking the 49ers, I think I pick the under.
Yeah, I'm same mindset. I'll take the Chiefs and the over. I want to see more Sky Moore in this game. Every time he's on the field, he is good and it looks like one of their best receivers. So I just hope it happens. We'll see. Next one, only a few more left. Seattle Seahawks against the Los Angeles Chargers. This is a sneaky good game. Chargers are 7-point home favorites. Over under in this one is 52. Ken Walker had a breakout type of performance last week, 21 carries, 97 yards, and a touchdown, and an incredible jump cut that kind of broke the internet a little bit. But a lot of the stuff that we saw, bouncing the ball outside, that's Ken Walker's strength. Yep, that is
it was hilarious because I almost like turned it to that game when that happened, and they were just freaking out, about it. I'm just like, this. It's what he's done his entire college career. It wasn't just Michigan State and his dominance. It's what he did before then too, at a much worse school. Because that was like almost the only thing he was allowed to do. It felt like. So he's great at it. He dominated the workload. DJ Dallas, I think, had 2 carries. So there's not even a timeshare really. So I think with Penny out for the rest of the year, we're going to see the emergence of Walker as a true RB2. With obviously RB1 weeks. And this is going to be one of those, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Just really quickly, Noah Fant had a good week. 6 receptions, 45 yards. That's a good week for him. He has kind of flipped the switch, and he is now ahead of Disley in target share and whatnot, which is good news for Noah Fant. This was also a game in which, Tyler Lockett's getting his for sure. DK Metcalf was a little quiet. I don't know if we're going to see a 6-catch performance.
It was supposed to be a good offensive game that turned into a complete dud. I don't expect that this week, but we'll see.
Yeah, for sure. And then the other side of the ball, Keenan Allen kind of said that he's going to take it slow, and I don't think he's playing in this game based on what he said, which is it's not. I mean, I get it. They have the bye right after this, but man, just they need you. Like
Palmer has looked good the last 2 weeks, though. So I think even if Allen wants to play this week, if I'm the Chargers, I'm sitting them because this was supposed to be like a 1 to 2 week thing, maybe 3, and it's been the whole year so far. I mean, he played like the first half of the first game. He's been out since. So I think if you're the Chargers, you're just saying, hey, look, I don't care if you're 100%. Sit out this week. Come back after the bye, and I know you're 100%, and we could just come off storming and really take this league again. I think he really truly unlocks this offense. Because he is he's the chain mover of this team. So
yeah, for sure. I'm gonna take the Seahawks to cover in this game because I wasn't really impressed with what the Chargers were doing. I heard a term the other day, and I wanted to bring it to the show. So it's a tennis reference. So the Chargers are very much so playing pickleball when they have one of the best servers in the sport of tennis. And I think that is the main problem with the Chargers offense is they want to condense everything and they want it to be tight. And it just can't be. It can't be when you have a talent like Justin Herbert. So stop playing pickleball, play tennis, play baseball even. Go for home runs, please. And just stop doing what you're doing, Brandon.
Yeah, the analogy has come off the rails.
I don't care.
A little bit of a counter to that are they trying to play tennis with a pickleball racket because that's the hand they're dealt with this rib injury to Herbert right now?
It could be.
I think that could be a little bit more of the case because he did, again, get injured pretty early in the year. I think it was week 2, and they've been fighting through it since. So it's just one of those things where I'm trying to give him the benefit of the doubt. He's QB8 of the year on a really bad year for quarterbacks right now. Mariota's a top 12 quarterback, so is Trevor Lawrence. I think that shows you how terrible, and Carson Wentz, by the way. I think that shows you how terrible this year has been all around for fantasy. So I think we're getting a turnaround. I think he's back to top 5 quarterback. After the bye, I think this was a multi-week injury for him too, and he's played through it. So I think after, a full week's rest after this, I think him and Allen and this offense comes out swinging. I do pick the under. I do pick under. I do pick the points for the Seahawks as well, but I'll take the Chargers.
Yeah, that's fair, I guess. I'm gonna take the over and the Seahawks to cover. I think is what I said. So
yeah, I think if this was week 2, I think I'm easily picking that. But
Yeah.
because of how these teams played these last 2 weeks,
That's fair. All right, next one. Houston Texans against the Las Vegas Raiders. Raiders are 7-point favorites, and the over-under is 44. Both teams are coming off a bye, which is always an interesting situation. I feel like 9 times out of 10, that gives the advantage to the underdog. Hopefully, all of the Raiders' weapons are healthy. I think that that's a good shout. I think leaning into the Josh Jacobs-led offense is a good plan. He looks phenomenal. He looks
especially for this week.
right. And so I think that I'm not super concerned about Stingley versus Devontae Adams, but I'm excited to watch it. I'm excited to see them battle a little bit because I think that that will be a matchup. Other than that, I'm not Dameon Pierce, sure, whatever. I don't care. I don't
Yeah,
care about the
David
Texans.
Pierce. David
Brandon
Pierce should
Cooks
have a
here.
good day. Keep an eye on the health report for the Raiders corners for Brandon Cooks. But yeah, I mean, you're starting all your Raiders. I think Renfro should have a good day. It does sound like Waller still isn't practice, so I'm not sure he's playing, which is a real bummer. But I was really hoping he's healthy. But at this point, with how he's struggled with injuries all year, I think if you're the Raiders, I don't care what the record is. I think you pretty much have to punt him until he's 100%, because there's no point. Because you brought him back twice now when he was probably like 75, 80%, and he got right back on the injury report. So you might as well just wait at this point and just hope it doesn't matter. You should have Flash Moreau back this week, which will help that a bit more. But lean on Josh Jacobs. Him alone can carry this team to easily the points, and I think the over.
Yeah, I'll take the over, but just by a hair. And I'll
Yeah,
take the Raiders.
I don't think this is a 55-point game between the two, but I think the Raiders can score 28 to 35 on their own this week. And that's why I'm going to take the over.
Yeah, that's fair. All right. Last couple here. Sunday Night Football. Pittsburgh Steelers against the Miami Dolphins. Dolphins are 7-point favorites in this game, and the over/under is 44. It looks like Tua is going to be playing, but now the other quarterback is concussed. He was, I believe, a limited participant. I think he is cleared the concussion protocol, or he's close to it, if I saw that correctly today, which will really rile up the Dolphins fans, I'll tell you.
I mean, for Pickett's sake, if he's fully healthy, I hope he plays. But if he somehow gets another concussion this game against the Dolphins, it is going to be the most glorified concussion since Tua's, and not glorified, but covered, I guess is the better way to put that. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just, I feel so bad for him, and it's a bad situation anyways. He's but I don't think there's any questions even if he sits out this week and Trubisky gets a good game. I think Pickett takes back over next week. So in my opinion, if you're 90%, sit out for the kid, because there's no point in rushing back when you're a bad team this year. Just plain and simple. I know you won last week when you shouldn't have, but I think Tua and this offense comes out fucking swinging this week.
Yeah, for sure. The other side of this is Trubisky wouldn't have even lost the job had he not gotten into a fight with Deontay Johnson in the locker room. Did you see that story?
Yep. And I'm happy they picked Deontay over Mitch. That's what I like to see.
It's fair. I do think that was a game that Deontay was struggling a little bit, but if your quarterback situation is that fragile that anyone Trubisky should feel he can stick up for himself. That sucks for Mitch. I do feel bad. I feel
bad for him, but
yeah.
In fairness, the Steelers' game plan is throw to Deontay Johnson.
yeah. Claypool's coming off a really good day. 7 catches on 7 targets, 96 yards, and a touchdown. A really good showcase for when he gets traded.
All with Trubisky, though.
True. Yeah, well, I mean, we'll see, I guess, who the quarterback is. I think Trubisky is mad at Deontay based on his output this last week.
Fair.
The Dolphins wide receivers, I mean, for them to go off last week, I think with Tua, it's just going to continue. I saw Tyreek Hill is on pace to break the receiving record for a season. So That's good news, right? Uh, I'm taking the Dolphins to win by 2 scores, and I'm taking the over because I'm picking the Dolphins.
I'm going to take the Dolphins to win by 2 scores, and I'm picking the under because I think the Dolphins have to put up at
44.
least 35 to hit this over.
Yeah, that's probably fair. Probably fair. I would call it at least like 30. I think the Steelers can get in the end zone a couple times.
Maybe.
Maybe. Okay, last one. Monday Night Football this week is the Chicago
Under.
Bears versus the New
Under.
England Patriots. Patriots are 7.5-point favorites, and the over/under is 40. Bill Belichick today, he had a 6-minute discussion about how impressive the Bears are, which is just crazy. I mean, he listed off like every player that they have. And it was interesting that it's always interesting when Bill kind of explains what he's seeing, because he did say like this team's getting better. They're a couple steps away. And he laid it out, but him knowing that means that they're going to score 0 points in this game. And Justin Fields is going to struggle. He's going to struggle against this Patriots defense. We know what happened with Justin Fields. Well, I guess maybe not everyone knows what happened with Justin Fields, but he missed one touchdown throw. Everything kind of unraveled for that Bears offense. A lot of the things weren't necessarily Fields' fault. I know, you can take a lot of the analysis from the national media and say, well, he's a one-read quarterback and then he runs. That's not true. Go watch like actual smart football people that have said, oh no, he's on his second read within not 5 seconds, because that would be bad. Within like a second, he's already moved to a second read. That's just not the case. But
that video that kind of went around and kind of went viral on Twitter of the running back for the Bills on 3rd and goal, last second, S Field is already starting to roll to the right, breaking out of his protection and flaring out. And like, well, if you just look to the left, he wasn't even supposed to go out, I'm sure. No. He was supposed to just be blocking. And he had no one to block, so because the blitz didn't come, so he just finally flared out after he got off a double team. And at that point, Fields is already assuming they're doubling the backside for him, and he's gone. Like
my favorite. So did you see what Fields said about that?
No.
So he said, he's my 5th read in that. And someone pointed out, you only have 4 receivers out there, dude. And the 4th read is him running. Like the 4th read is him running, and then the 5th read would be David Montgomery. Like you would obviously rather Justin Fields run the ball than throw to your dump off. That's common sense. Also, all of the reads were to the right side. He can't just 360 no scope throw the football. It's crazy.
With a check and release at best for Montgomery on opposite side of a possible flood situation to the right.
Now a good offensive coordinator puts one of the freaking receivers on a drag route opposite a flood and sends Montgomery that way too. And then that's what the Chiefs do all the time with Travis Kelce. That's why he's always wide open, is he goes opposite the flood. Whatever. I have my gripes about Luke Getsy, but on the other side, Bailey Zappi has created a quarterback controversy, which is hilarious to me. He played very, very well. He threw for 300 yards again, 309 yards and 2 touchdowns. He executes the offense. Bailey Zappi did this. He's a smart player.
Well, and it's very weird. Not because he's not talented, because he is. But this is his level. He's a high-level replacement. This is what we graded him as and everything. But it's weird to me because when he came in against the Packers, I believe, he was very limited. They did not let him do much. And since then, they have opened everything up to him, and he has played really well in the system. Have they have really good running games these last couple of weeks? Yes, and that has carried this team in great defensive weeks that has vaulted this team to a different level as well. But he has played good, and he's passing better than a lot of people in the league so far this year, especially people that are touted as generational. So with that in mind, I do think, I don't think he can keep Mac on the bench till the bye, which I put in here for a reason, week 10. But I think you give Mac Jones the full leash. I mean, this was a relatively serious injury for Mac Jones. Definitely not season-ending by any means or anything like that, but it was it's a timetable that we expected to be like 3 or 4 to 6 weeks. And, we're at, I think, the third or fourth week right now. I think you keep putting him off, and I think maybe you bring him back week 8, week 9, so next week or the week after. But, if he's still not 100% by week 8 or 9, I think you just keep pushing him off until after the bye, because Zappy's doing enough, and you pretty much have this game won, if we're being honest here.
Yeah.
And, that you have a decent record. I think you can just keep letting this running back pretty much solo of Stevenson for the time being until after the bye, I'm sure. And then, this defense carry you to some more, at least contending in games. And I think Zappe keeps his job until the bye at this point.
Yeah. Really quick last note on this game. Last year's Justin Fields' coming out party was against the Steelers on Monday Night Football. He's a big game player. He did it in college as well. So I'm curious to see if maybe that plays into this with the extra time to prepare too. So.
Yeah, it's just when that happened, he had teams focusing on Allen Robinson and Mooney could get open deep. Yeah. That's my issue. He's got nothing besides Mooney. And I don't think this Patriots team is going to allow the running backs to have good weeks.
Yeah.
So with that being said, it will be only on Fields to win this game and even be close. And I think he has the talent. I don't think he is surrounded by the talent to do said thing.
Yeah, that's fair. He's the QB 10 over the last 2 weeks, though. So I think maybe you sit him this week and then you come back with him.
100%. As long as he's not dead.
Yeah. I'll take the Patriots to cover those points, and
I'll respectfully take the over for respect of Justin Fields.
Yeah, I think the over will hit. I think it's going to be like a 30-20 game. 30-20.
It's 33 to 10. Let's do that.
That's fair. All right, that will do it for this episode of The Cut. That is week 7 for you. Again, remember, guys, that offenses have struggled at times this year, but there's still time for it to turn around. Your fantasy seasons are not over. I've taken 4 lost teams through 6 weeks into a championship game. So don't feel like you're out of it. Make some trades, be active on waivers as much as you can. And, keep getting some dubs. Randy, do you have anything to add before we get out of here?
No, just kind of reiterate what we said at the beginning. Just we're all hoping this kind of turns around a bit, but it has been a struggle for everyone. So just keep doing what you need to do, making the right waiver claims. And with these buys, we've been hit hard to start the year. And we talked about it a little bit last week. Like, don't take the 0 if it doesn't make sense for you. If you need to replace a tight end and there's only bums on there that are going to get you 4 points, and you have to drop, say, like Khalil Herbert or Elijah Mitchell for it, I don't think you do that. I think you do aggressively try and get a trade through, but if it's a league that's not aggressive to make something happen, like my problem was, but I think then it's okay to get the 0 from a guy you have to sit, but try your best to set a lineup every week. I definitely felt gross going against my own moral code there and not starting someone, but it was kind of needed. But those are a case-by-case situation. In the most case, you should be able to find and replace somebody, maybe work with your commissioner to add some IR spots if you don't have them, because it is pretty atrocious to not have them at this point. So,
yeah, that sounds good. It's good advice. Good advice. All right, we will be back. I'm thinking, Monday, but also I like watching Justin Fields and the Bears play. So, so we'll see. We might go at halftime, and I'm sure the game will be out of hand by then. So
yeah.
So it might not be that fun to watch. But hopefully we're back Monday. We'll hopefully have some waivers for you next week. Hopefully there's a good selection of waivers to pick from.
Yeah, we'll see. See if James Williams is out there.
Yeah, stash him.
I think that's a good stash.
I think stashing Kyren Williams is a decent.
Donta Foreman.
Yeah.
Kyren Williams.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. Sounds good. We'll be back next week at some point. For Randy Hall, I'm Christian Williams. We'll talk to you guys then. Later.